very good morning to you. You are listening to Flow FM 92.7. It's Tuesday, the 15th of April, 2025. And it's now time for us to discuss some of these big national trending headlines. Welcome to the Headline News Review. I am Danielle, Adeyemi.
I'm Danielle, Shitta-Bey. Good morning.
And the Headline News Review is a platform that gives you the opportunity, the chance to have your say, to discuss, debate, and talk about the big stories making headlines across major newspapers. This morning, we have a select of some of those stories, and then maybe you're coming across some other that are making, big news and big headlines to you, and then you want to pass comment on them. Or please feel free to bring them so we can discuss them together on the Headline News Review. We are joined live by Nicholas Unwarunoye. Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning.
It's good to have you.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure you're fired up to have the conversation this morning. It's big stories we have making headlines across major newspapers, from Genko's threatening total blackout. So the big meeting held in Ibadan yesterday by the PDP governors, and then to President Bola Tinubu giving the go-ahead words to Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang to make sure he gets to the root of the problems, the communal clash, rather maybe the clashes or the violence in Plateau State as a result of 51 killings, and a family of 8 was taken out late Sunday night, quite disheartening, and the president has said, you know what, this time you must get to the root of these issues. Well, we'll discuss all of this and other interesting national headlines in a moment. But please remember that you have a space of 1 minute, 60 seconds to join in the conversation and then pass comment. Remember as well to please, the positions taken on the program or the views expressed is not in any way the position of Flow FM 92.7 or any of the staff therein, but solely as expressed by the analysts. But we'll keep the conversation very, very clean. Let's not insult anybody with our comments. A lot of interesting stories to touch on this morning.
All right, let's get into it. But before then, remember that we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at Flow FM 927. All you have to do is go on this social media platforms, and you can get in on the live action happening in the studio right now. Just like my colleague said, let's start off with the power crisis. Power generation companies in Nigeria have warned of imminent shutdown due to the federal government's debt of 4 trillion naira, which includes 2 trillion owed for power supplied in 2024 and 1.9 trillion in legacy debts.
Well, that is quite frightening, and it has always been said that the real problem, with power, it's that is not lucrative enough in Nigeria. That is why you see a lot of investors balking to put money there. You see, you are talking of a population of over 200 million people. Ordinarily, that's potential for big money making, So especially because the industries will need power, houses will need to be powered, a lot of, fintechs, financial, technologies have to be powered, So at the end of the day, you would expect that investors will be falling over themselves, to come and invest in Nigerian power sector. But, the problem has always been the inability of the, of government to kind of bring about a financial solution to allowing them to make money, recoup money, while also providing services. And that is what you see it happening there. Now, look at the breakdown of that debt. You have one of 2024, right?
Yes.
That government is supposed to pay them, and they are yet to be paid. Then, of course, the 1.something trillion legacy debt, that is before that unbundling of NEPA. That's part of the money that was owed them at that time. You understand? So those legacy there were amounts of money that was used to settle a lot of issues.
From sunrise to midnight and beyond, one station keeps you locked in, no matter where you are. Non-stop vibes, non-stop hits. This is Flow FM 92.7.
Good morning, Ilori. You know what time it is. Wake up with us and get your day started right.
We've got the hottest headlines, trending topics, and the music you love back to back.
To add value.
You already know we keep it fun, fresh, and real. Mid-mornings with us, you won't want to miss it.
We bring the energy, the laughs, and of course the tunes that gets you through the day.
Afternoon on Flow FM, it's where the culture lives. Music, entertainment, and all the gist that you need.
If it's trending, you already know we're talking about it.
Stay locked in, Ilorin. It's Flow FM, baby.
Not about to sit on our hands on this matter.
The night's young The vibes are right, and we are flowing past midnight. You ready to chill? Let's go.
Listen anytime, anywhere. Stream us live, call us, send us a WhatsApp message. We're just a tap away. Flow FM 92.7, your go with the flow radio station.
To clear the debts and the custom, probably see how they can resolve things. But how soon the minister, through his special advisor Bolaji Tunji, didn't give a timeline as to when action will be taken by the government to settle these genkos. Do we see, because what is government thing? Do we see more time being taken to result in genkos taking action?
Let us get something very clear. You see, for some of these corporate bodies, these genkos, what they actually need is firm assurance that the money will be paid. That goes a long way into giving confidence to continue working in Nigeria. But a situation where you come up with vague propositions and statements, it tends to put them in a quandary as to whether to, call quits to it or just, continue giving the services in piecemeal. Both instances is not what we want. We want a firm resolution on this. You understand? So that these guys can continue doing their work.
All right, let's move to another conversation this morning, and this is the meeting that happened in Ibadan with the PDP governors. But the judge has warned that the party risks collapse if former Vice President Atiku Abubakar secures the 2027 presidential candidate, stressing that the presidency should rotate to the south after 8 years in the north.
That is quite... it's a very profound statement coming from Body Judge. Let's not forget that this is, how do I put it, one of the elders of the party. And to a very large extent, he did warn that Atiku taking up the ticket might create a lot of problem in 2023. He did make that warning, which they didn't heed. You understand? But of course, we cannot squarely place the blame on Atiku. There are other players within the, and of course, issues of precedence, that led to, what happened in 2023. And in a way, I kind of agree with him, that because, you see, the party has thrown up a lot of big weights. You understand? Wike is dead set against Atiku. And, Wike is a big deal in PDP. He's dead set against him. He's willing to bring the roof down if it comes down to giving Atiku the ticket. So you see, when you have that kind of entrenched animosity, what the elders should be looking to is see how they can maneuver both of them out of the picture, so that you can have more. You can have a situation where you have people who are neutral. They can then sit down and talk, because as much as we like to say it, and we like to see it, the presence, the preeminent presence of both men is becoming very, very toxic for the party. That is the simple truth. So one way or the other, you have to ease the two of them out of it. One way or the other. That is if that party will stand a chance in 2027. Right. And indeed, if your opposition will stand a chance in 2027.
Well, Chief Bode George said a lot, in his reaction. And I like to pick up a part of his statement where he said, it's not as if he gave those warnings in 2023, and then he said why he doesn't, why there will be a lot of problems, for the PDP if former Vice President Atiku Abubakar emerges their candidate, is that he's not a party man. He's not looking to resolve the crisis within the party.
Exactly.
That he's looking for personal ambition.
Well, I tend to agree with that, because you need to look at Atiku's movement, his statements and things like that. It's always about him being, it's not about a party thing. One would have expected, with the kind of clout, with the kind of resources he has, you see his movement towards making a resolution, even if it means bending backwards, to accommodate some of, the grievances that Wike has. But you don't see him, though. He's been aloof. It's always been about how, his movement tends to suggest that it's all about getting a ticket for 2027, which to me is I think it's going to be counterproductive. He doesn't appear to see. There's this feeling you have that he's more of a perennial, perennial presidential candidate. Well, maybe somehow he's satisfied with that kind of a thing. So it gives me cause for concern, really. Not because I have any kind of partisan sentiment for PDP, but because I am more of a kind of person that looks at things, dialectically. There must be opposition where you have it. If you don't have opposition, then we are all finished. You need to have alternative views. So, and PDP on paper appears to be the only viable major opposition you have, but they are really floundering and leaving the job for other people, to do. Ordinary Nigerians to carry their, their cross or their, burden. Other, Labour Party coming up with their way of doing things, and which is gradually gaining traction across the board. You have, pockets of opposition, SDP coming up, so you need to have a kind of umbrella opposition figure. Atiku is more qualified to be in that position, but he doesn't appear to see that is something that a gauntlet he needs to take. He needs to take up.
Well, during the meeting yesterday, they made lots of resolutions, appointments, and of course some plans towards the national convention. But away from all of that, the governors are disagreeing, to have the PDP join any coalition. And do you see this as being that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is the one spearheading that political coalition movement alongside former Governor of Kaduna State Malam Nasir El-Rufai? Could that be the reason why the PDP governors are rejecting a coalition?
Don't forget, most of these PDP governors are going to seek re-election. I think they are trying to hedge their bet. Not forming coalition in a way pleases the president in power. You understand? So they are willing to look at, let's trade a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. You understand? And let's see who wins. Whichever way wins, they get their own party ticket to come back, a second time. That is on the one hand. Then secondly, you have to consider the fact that PDP as it is, don't forget that they have a kind of, I think they are still suffering from, how do I put it? Is it hubris? A lot of them have not smelled the coffee, that they've been out of power, that the PDP that they used to know is no longer there. It is not the kind of PDP that was a behemoth, that claimed that they are going to rule Nigeria, for 60 years. And that is not the PDP you have now. The PDP you have now is floundering. We are talking of people, powerful, members, being leaving the party in droves, either to the ruling party or to other or margin opposition. So I think they have not yet seen the picture clearly. That is why the governors can come together, and say that kind of a thing. And of course, 2027 is still a long way from here. And of course, in politics, 24 hours could determine a lot of things. So 2027, is still a long way from here. Maybe this is just a tentative, position. It might change, it might change, in due course of time.
Okay, so a statement was made by Dele Momodu, former presidential candidate and media mogul. He sounded a warning to potential contenders in the 2027 presidential election that challenging President Bola Tinubu and FCT Minister Nyesom Wike will be no small feat. Now, making a statement like that, does it look like Wike is totally on the side of Tinubu, or what do you think can change Wike's mind?
No, but Wike has already said that his duty ahead of 2027 to ensure that Tinubu returns. He said it. He's made a statement about that. So there is no doubt about that. He's working with Tinubu ahead 2027, except something else happens. You understand? And Dele Momodu has made, has made an observation that I think, I would rather want to take with a pinch of salt. As much as I like him, he's a very senior colleague. As much as he's a very brilliant person, but he has made some wrong calls in the past. You understand? Taking on both of them might not be as Herculean as he thinks. You understand? Because, I did recall that when Peter Obi left PDP to Labour Party, a party where he contested once, he said, no, his ambition is finished. You understand? That Peter Obi is finished, that he recalls when he went to, Labour Party, when he first spent his first 10 million, in the course of that it shook him. And at the end of the day, he didn't make any with that, But you see, what turned out in 2023 was something phenomenal that everybody agreed has never happened in the history of the our party politics in Nigeria. You understand? You see, there is this dynamism in politics that you cannot sit in one place and just predict. It's not a 1 + 1 2. It's not making an economic prediction. It's not even weather prediction. You understand? You see, it's about human nature. You understand? Things could happen between now and 2027, and you see the kind, an awesome governization, either to support Tinubu for 2027 or another major opposition happening, or any one of these opposition just overshadowing the rest of them. That is the thing about politics. So it's, you see, if you ask me to make a direct, I would just skirt around the issues because I know things can change anytime. So his core, while it appears as if right now might be so, but between now and 2027, a lot of things could happen. A lot of things,
All right, so let's move away from that conversation. The number to call to join the conversation this morning is 0807 777 9927. 0807 777 9927. Well, President Bola Tinubu is demanding an investigation into the Plateau killings. And of course, I'm assuring, Caleb Mutfwang, the governor of Plateau State, of the federal government's support, and he's tasked the governor to get to the root of this long age, violence in Plateau States.
I sincerely hope Mr. President can walk his talk on that, because you see, that might be a defining moment in solving this problem, these intractable killings that we see in Plateau State. Because you see, when you give him that kind of sweeping powers. You understand? It's, the implication is that you are going to put everything at his disposal. Is he willing to do that?
All right, hold on. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, this is Mr. Davis calling from Shell.
All right, Mr. Davis, you're welcome. Good morning to you.
Yes, my regards to my encyclopedia there. You see, on the issue of a body judge statement, I think the chief is saying the right thing. You see, Atiku is not interested in Nigeria progress. He's only interested in his own ambition. And as the saying goes, ambition is like a horse. It respects no law except its own taste. You see, when you begin to try just to become something at all costs, you will discover that it won't end well. You see, if the PDP is in existence, I think the party is no more in existence unless they reconcile with Wiki. And the same person that they want to reconcile is the same person that starts saying that his main ambition is for the president to return in 2027. You see, it is high time for us in Nigeria to think about the interest of Nigeria, not about personal interest. God bless you.
All right, then. Thank you, Mr. Davis from Shao. Nicholas, thank you for.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I'm quite flattered, for the compliments you paid. But like I was saying, what President Tinubu appears to have granted granted the Plateau State Governor Mutfwang is a that is a carte blanche. That is a blank ticket. That is blank ticket to do and undo as far as that killing is concerned, and that comes with a lot of, it comes with a lot of implication. That is one, to the effect that he's going to put a lot of resources into his, I think the president should do that. You understand? I think he should do that for a change. He should put a lot of resources so that he can look at how he can protect his people. You see, if he's able to do that, you discover that it is going to send a very powerful signals to people who have fomented this trouble. You understand? I was reading a comment. This sudden resurgence in killing, for me, it appears as if it has more of a political undertone than any other thing. Why now? when it appears as if the federal, the soldiers, the armies are having a handle on it. It's kind of strange and it's kind of worrisome. And I think that that aspect of Tinubu that we know he has, this ability, this strength, this inner strength, and somebody that you can't bully with any kind of violence, should come to play at this point, so that we know that, okay, even though there are lots of question marks and things like that, but what was never in doubt about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is his capacity. It has never been in doubt. So he needs to start walking his talk in this instance, please.
Okay, well, Atiku doesn't necessarily agree because he says, about the renewed attacks in Plateau and Borno states that have claimed dozens of lives. We know he's opposition, but he's talking about the administration failing in security policies and infrastructure, and calling the frequent killings and terrorism in northern Nigeria as a result of the federal government's inaction and slow persecution of terrorists.
Like you said, he's an opposition person, and he will speak like an opposition person. But I think the former vice president is ignoring a lot of factor in what is happening. That is, number one, the ethnicization and politicization of those banditry issues. If you mention one particular tribe, we notice that he's always silent when it comes to issues like that. You understand? So that doesn't make him an impartial arbiter in this instance. You understand? So, one has to take that kind of, statement, with a pinch of salt. And like you rightly said, if you look at the intractability of these killings happened under APC. You understand? It went out of hand under APC. And yes, in that regard, he has a right to call out to the president and his party because they have not managed the situation very well. I think the real damage happened under President Muhammadu Buhari. Because the former president was actually sleeping on his job. When he was supposed to make a strident call, stemming that killing. I think it's either they were giving him the wrong intelligence or he read the room wrongly. So after that infested, it's going to take an awesome amount of strength for the current incumbent, to rally around and do things. And it appeared that at some point in the last 1 or 2 years, you see that there has been a lot of movement. There has been a lot of positivity coming out from the military, campaign. But all of this sudden resurgence of the attack is what is so strange,
All right, let's move away from some of this to also this trending story, because it's happening within right under our nose. The Kwara Command, Police Command, yesterday dragged the Nigerian controversial singer Badmo Sukikiola, popularly known as Portable, before a Kwara State Upper Area Court presided over by Chief Magistrate Sunday Adini. Reports were, however, as of yesterday, that Portable struggled to meet the bail condition as of yesterday.
What jumps out at me, when I saw that report was, I asked a bit of, please, but let me make a caveat, please. I never liked Portable's kind of music. I don't like his personality. Let me be very, very straightforward about that. But you see, sometimes
you are one in 1,000 Nigerians or million Nigerians that feel different from your position.
Yeah, but you see, because sometimes I like putting my sentiment aside and look at the issues. You understand? What jumps out at me is this: where did Portable make his comments? He made it in Lagos, Abeokuta. You understand? Of course, it was via the that is the internet and things like so. It makes him liable for cyber, cyber related, laws and things like that. But you see, why would Saheed Osupa, who is not resident in Ilorin, come and open the keys here? You understand? Of course, you could say that he was here when he saw it, so he could open it. But you see, there is this problem that I have. I know that in the north here you have the penal code, and the penal code is very, very stiff on issues like abuses and things like that. You understand? So you see, my impression is Saheed Osupa is not seeking justice. It doesn't look like he's looking to punish Portable with the instruments of the law. And I have always been saying that, law enforcement agencies should be very careful when they delve into things like this. It would have been easy to try him in Lagos, but he will have to go through the civil litigation way. You understand? I have always said it that civil litigation way makes a person pay more than when you institute a criminal kind of defamation thing. You understand? This is my first impression of the situation. Okay. And like me, the police, and I learned that at the office of the CP, the commissioner for police made personal pleadings. This is what I learned. Okay. That the commissioner of police, Adeyemi, is it Adeyemi? Yeah. Pleaded with Saheed Ojoba to accept, this man's, out of court settlement and his pleadings. And I let that Portable pleaded, but Saheed insisted on going ahead with the case. So that is my take. That you see, there is nothing wrong with seeking justice. I have no, but you have to make it clear that what you are seeking is justice and not vendetta. And I equally recall too that both of them, Saheed Ojoba himself and this other guy from Uru, there was a time they used to throw these musical banters at each other, say all manners of things to each other. Nobody took anybody to court. You understand? So you see, I can go on and on some of these issues, but this is not to say that one way or the other you shouldn't check Portable, because Portable has been a nuisance. Let us be very straight about that. The kind of things he's encouraging is very, very unflattering of Nigerian youth. But for me, this is not the way to go about it.
All right. So Portable has a number of police cases, just like you mentioned just now. If out of court settlement, will he stop all his whims?
It won't. Because you see, Portable is a serial offender. And again, you see, the one other thing must be said too. It comes with the terrain. It comes with the terrain of being a musician, that kind of musician. Don't forget, look, Fela Anikulapo Kuti was probably like that. Because he was well detested by the government in power, the military. He was all over the places, in your face kind of a thing. He was doing all those things then, but today he's an icon. But I'm not saying that Portable is going. I'm not comparing Portable in any way. He doesn't even begin to compare with Fela. But all the same, one has to be very, very careful. With what ones do online these days. That's one question, one lesson we have to learn from that.
All right. Just before we go, I just need a clarification on something. The petition borders on serious allegations like criminal defamation, threats to life, incitement, character assassination, conduct likely to cause breach of peace, and the use of abusive and insulting, words. Like we say, like you mentioned, Portable is a serial offender. Well, shouldn't there be a section of the law, a part of the law that looks or checks attitudes or characters like this? Well, Nicholas, our time is for spent. Sadly, you won't be able to respond to that, but we'll keep it up. Keep our eyes on the story and, of course, and report the developments. My name is Adeyemi. Thank you for joining us this morning.
And I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. The views expressed is not in any way the position of Flow FM 92.7, but are solely expressed by the analyst Nicholas Uwerunoye. Thank you for joining us. Here to